Hello everyone, welcome to Goosebumps HorrorTown in the new year of 2020. This is going to be quite interesting indeed, but before we even do that, there are two things in the past, three things if you count the collection, that I have to look at before we move to the future. Oh yeah, and then there's also the other books, but let's pretend as if they don't exist right now. I've already did a few books. If you want this to happen, so let's go ahead and dive right into this certain thing. Before I begin talking, let's talk quickly about something I forgot to during my Halloween quest. And that was that there was, during the playthrough, you may have noticed this here. And it looks like a bunch of pink eggs sitting in the water side around the corner. Now, I did not mention this, but this was here, and a lot of people, myself included, during the time, have noticed this sticking out. And you're curious of why that was the case. Now, mind you, I kind of knew what was the case due to, this recent information I've received. If you're curious about that, go to part 0 of the 12 event, but regardless. But yeah, when you're looking at this, it looks intriguing to say the eggs there, and you're curious on what that whole thing is about. But, so that was something I forgot during the Halloween that I'm putting up here, and the reason why I'm bringing them up is because they were a teaser to the update that we were getting after the Halloween one. In fact, to the point, we have Slappy here say the following.
How come is HorrorTown after that carnival horror, right? It would be terrible if we'd be invaded by some undeserved guest.
Invaded, huh? Interesting choices of words there, Slappy. And invaded we were, because the update that came out was none other than... It is the Squeezer Revolution. This was a event that was coming up, and believe it or not, this is a first I've seen this. This is 2 books into 1, believe it or not. This is a sequel to the Squeezer update we got last year, but they're utilizing, well, not really utilizing this book, but I'm assuming it's kinda in the vague of them coming back for revenge. You could look at it as the Revenge of the Body Squeezers. It was an interesting idea of a book. I won't talk too much about that because I think for the most part this book may be featured more in the future, and I feel like this particular update, although it has the body squeezers in there, I feel like it's mostly involving our second book that was merged, and that was Secret Agent Grandma. Now, Secret Agent Grandma was a thing that we knew was going to come into the game to the point where we kind of was expecting it to kind of come sooner than later. However, unknowing to us, that actually ended up coming into a different case. You see, before anything else, I've seen people post or had artwork from other things, like we've seen pictures of the Vampire Bride, which turned out to be Ivani in the future. But there was also this image here. This was actually what would be originally the Secret Agent Grandma as we knew, because it looked exactly like the cover art here that was done by Mark. And what's bizarre about it, too, is that this grandmother actually later on in the story, if you've seen my playthroughs, turned out to be that of Emily's grandmother. So here I thought that this was going to be that certain element. Now, mind you, I think that they probably scrapped this idea, and not 100% sure if that's the case or if they're going to utilize it, but for all you know, rip grandma. This grandma's not going to be used. Instead, it's another grandma. This grandma right here. This Norwegian woman. And I honestly, the way they're going about with this one, I really do enjoy very much so. And you might have seen during my Crafting 101 the joke of the USSR anthem. And yeah, when you think about it, it's very event is more kind of based on the Soviet kind of art style that was most popular during the communist era back then in the Cold War. So it had that kind of design to it, which was interesting how they would go about this with the Alien event. And what made this even more curious is the fact that if this was going to redeem the event that was previously my worst, which was the Invasion of the Body Squeezers, which was the second event we got in this game. And yeah, well, you're gonna have to find out later on in the event review to see if whether or not I liked it, but you might be pleasantly surprised, maybe not. But we're gonna assume, just for time purposes, we're going to assume that the Revenge of the Body Squeezers wasn't really the main focus, and it was actually Secret Agent Grandma, only because in their website they had that image be the case, and it seemed like it was more Secret Agent Grandma-y. So we might get Revenge of the Body Squeezers at some point, especially with a teaser at the end of the quest line during this event, but regardless. So in that in mind, we're just going to be taking a look at the book Secret Agent Grandma. This book was number 23. Oh no, this was how many endings there were, my bad. This was number 16 in this event, and afterwards would come into Please Don't Feed the Vampires. Now, Slappy at some point did mention her as well as Fifi at some point, and it was bizarre how this story kind of went about. So this was a Choose Your Own Adventure book, and the idea of it was that you're going to visit or find your grandmother coming in the train, and at first you see Grandma on the coming out, but then you realize there's another grandmother fighting in the coach. And before I begin, the Choose Your Own Adventure books, they will have multiple different endings, so depending on what you choose, someone would be a villain, but then if you choose another way, it's like they're completely not a villain, so it's bizarre. But anyways, the spoiler alert, the real grandmother is inside the train, and the one that came out was actually an alien. Creepy, ooh, spooky. So if you chose to go with the alien grandmother, you would have misadventures of really creepy alien stuff happening, and of course the iconic image here of Grandma being ripped open. The if you went with the grandma inside the coach, though, you would find out that she was actually a secret agent, as in like a spy. And it's interesting how they kind of went about this. So it was kind of like it was so bizarre. But to go about this, which is interesting, the concept artwork by Mark. And here's the other thing too. When it comes to Mark, it seems like he always been producing a lot of these concept arts. So here are the four. You can tell that the third sketch he decided to go with, and honestly it seemed very interesting to see. To be honest with you, let's go ahead and talk about trivia, because again, there's not a whole lot when it comes to the this book. It's interesting enough. If you are curious, I would advise you can check out going on to Google. You can go onto YouTube, and there are certain people who've read through this book. My recommendation is that there's a podcast called Goosebumps. They did do this book, and it's quite hilarious how they kind of went about this. But if you want more information about Grandma, that I gave you basically the gist of it. Nothing new kind of happens there. There's no other interesting subject matter. So let's go ahead and talk about some trivia. According to Mark himself, this was the worst or least favorite cover he did within the series. Interesting fact there. And I think I talked about this for the Creepy Creations of Professor Shock, but Secret Agent Grandma was originally planned to follow right after, but had to change due to it was actually Please Don't Feed the Vampire, but then Secret Agent Grandma came before it, so that was weird. In one of the endings, or one of the good endings as they describe in this book, the reader, you, Andrew, and Sophie grabs music-making devices and use them to kill alien spawns. This is possibly a reference to Mars Attack, which is a movie which is a very bizarre movie. I remember seeing this, and it's like, I didn't see the movie per se, but I looked at the trailers and some clips, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this film's gonna be very bizarre. The back of the cover tagline allures to the question show to tell the truth, which was known for using the phrase, "Will the real blank please stand up?" You can also think about the real Slim Shady doing that thing too. References in other Goosebumps media. The mutant alien roses. Yes, in this book there were alien roses. They do make an appearance in the garden in the 13th Give Yourself Goosebumps books, Your Plant Fruit. Or the 30th, I should say. My bad, not 13th. That would not make sense. Why would this allude to a book thing that would not be in the book until whatever? The alien grandmother actually did appear. Oh, never mind. That's information we know now. She's apparently in the Goosebumps HorrorTown game during the Squeezer Revolution event. No wonder, man. Of course. I mean, of course we know now. Jeez. Oh goodness. Anyways, yeah. Before we continue on with the talking about what came within its update, I will mention though, and you probably are curious about this, what was just in case we never get this, and we're assuming that this is a merger of the Body Squeezer's Revenge, that was also Choose Your Own Adventures, except this one was more of a very complex, like it was a special edition one. It was the first time a sequel actually came about during something like this. And the other weird thing about it is the fact that during the update, or not the update, but during this book, the idea that there was these blue squeezers, and apparently the son of Fleshman came back wanting revenge on the two kids who, in the book, killed his father. So they basically got themselves sent back into the cage, and the squeezers this time wanted to squeeze the whole world with a bomb, which would literally turn people into like circular balls. I guess the best way to describe that is that I think this might have been in Space Jam. In Space Jam, there's like this gag where a human got squashed into like a little ball figure. I think it might have been Michael Jordan. I might be mistaken of that. But yeah, imagine that was what's going to happen with the bomb once it blows up. People turn into like balls like that. Very bizarre. I guess most people would be dead by then, realistically. But this is the world of Goosebumps, so people are still alive for some reason. Okay. Alright, well, yeah, that's roughly the whole gist of this. So, with that, let's go ahead and talk about this update and what it brings. So, here we go. Dustin finds out he has a charming distant relative, but just as she arrives in HorrorTown, some strange light starts falling from the sky. Coincidence? The Body Squeezers are back with a vengeance. We need you to help stop the Squeezers' revolution. And what is in this game? A sneak peek. One new character. Grandma? 15 new items to collect and craft, like Grandma's secret ingredient, Grandma's super cool agent radar. 10 new animations, like Grandma's acting mysterious, listening for alien activity, and Baby Squeezer's rush. Baby Squeezers, huh? 10 new buildings and decorations, like the Squeezer Revolution Committee, the Crash Spaceship, and the Squeezer's Victory Monument. Now, what's interesting is that they mentioned the Crash Spaceship. I don't think we got that. I think what they're referring to is the event area. And there is a Crash Spaceship, but you don't really get that. So, yeah. Alright, well, there you go. So that's basically it for this one. So, it's time to talk about what will happen moving forward. I think I gotten everything I need to talk about here. Usually, yeah, most of it I think I got to. There's not a whole lot when it comes to information-wise and special stuff, especially since it's in January now and we pretty much know what happened if you played through this game. But for historical purposes and archive, we're just going to pretend as if it was November and we had no idea what was going to come up next and what happened afterwards and all that stuff. So, will this update revive and actually bring back a dam when it comes to the squeezers? Can they redeem them, or will this just fail miserably? You're gonna have to find out. We're gonna start with part 1, and as usual, this one is going to be fun, but we'll see when we get there. Until then, I've been Grim. If you like or hate whatever, do your thing down below. It helps me know exactly how you feel in these updates. I've been Grim, and I'll be seeing you later. And remember to watch for the skies, because they might be coming for you.